I want to talk about two players here. Number one, Payton Pritchard is putting the league on notice, but we've already been aware that he is that guy coming off the bench. So I want to talk about possibly new updates on the 6th Man of the Year Sportsbook odds. And then on the back half of the show, Giannis, JB, are they beefing? What's really going on? And what happened versus the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday afternoon? We're going to break that down. But first things first, I just love talking about the Boston Celtics, and I'm glad you guys are here with me. So if you guys are glad you're a Boston Celtics fan, it feels so good to be the best team in the NBA. Well, hit that thumbs up button for me. Let's talk about PP, and please, for the love of God, don't be weird about that. Payton Pritchard is a difference maker when it comes to playing off the bench for the Boston Celtics. And like I said, we've already known this. We have had the privilege of watching PP come off the bench for several years now for Boston, but he's now started to just really explode. He's becoming a 3-level scorer. He's becoming a difference maker for the Boston Celtics. They have been struggling in a few games where they let up big leads, 14, 24, 19, and have to build their way back up. But when Pritchard comes in, it's an instant spark off the bench. Because when you look at the comebacks that the Celtics have had to come through over the last couple of games versus the Pacers, which they ended up losing in overtime, he ended a 4-minute scoring drought by draining a 3, which I know doesn't necessarily bring you back into the ball game, but almost 4.5 minutes of not scoring. Payton Pritchard checks in and boom, drains a 26-footer. That's what I like to see. Then against the Brooklyn Nets, a team you should have blown out, he takes the lead in overtime, and then after that, he goes the foul line, makes both his free throws. After that, goes the foul line again, makes both of his free throws. Next thing you know, they have a 6-point lead because Payton Pritchard is putting the ball in the hoop. Then versus the Bucks, and sat on Sunday afternoon, he cut the deficit to 9. The lead was as large as 14 points for the Milwaukee Bucks, and then once Payton Pritchard comes in, he drains a 3, and then, of course, he drains another 3 back to back to back, and he cuts that deficit. And Payton Pritchard, that's what he does when he comes off the bench. Not to mention, he has scored 15 or more points in 9 out of 11 Boston Celtics games so far this season. And that's a little bit unheard of from a guy coming off the bench, especially in an explosive offensive lineup that the Boston Celtics do have with Derek White, Jrue Holiday, JB, JT, and then, of course, Al Horford. So when I look at Payton Pritchard, and once again, we've known these stats about PP for a while, but now the NBA is starting to notice things about Pritchard's scoring. His 3-point attempts, it's 8th highest in the NBA. He's averaging 9.1 threes a game. He is not a starter. He's coming off the bench and draining it by making 43 3-pointers so far this season, which puts him in 4th in the NBA. This is some Steph Curry level of stuff. And then his bench points per game, he's actually 4th, averaging 16.5 points coming off the bench. But in total, Payton Pritchard, it's the offense I really want to talk about here. Of course, there's several areas you can touch on Payton Pritchard. The way that his on-ball defense just completely changes the game. The way that his pace changes the game as well. But he's also first in points coming off the bench so far for the NBA for 182 total points in 11 games. And this is 30 points higher than the next player, which is Buddy Hield, who's the 6th man for the Golden State Warriors. Now let's dive a little bit deeper. Joe Mazzulla had a great quote on Payton Pritchard after yesterday's win against the Bucks, and he said he is a 3-level scorer. And we've always known Pritchard to be a very good 3-point shooter, but last year he started to become a 2-way guard and really emphasized on driving to the basket and then, of course, being an offensive rebounder and following his shot. But this year, his catch-and-shoot 3-point percentage is at 48.3%. That is better than some actual starters in the NBA who their primary job is to score threes. His pull-up field goal percentage, he's starting to get a lot more shifty with his ball handling skills, shooting about 41.7%. And then, like I said, he loves driving to the rack. Less than 10 feet. His field goal percentage is a whopping 62.5. You mainly only see these types of stats in bigs who are primarily shooting less than 10 feet. And now you've got a smaller guard dominating at all three levels and showing no signs of slowing down. And I know a lot of you guys have been in the comment section being like, Allie, what does Payton Pritchard need to do to be in the starting lineup? Number one, he doesn't. He doesn't need to be in the starting lineup. You cannot get a better starting five than Derek White, Jrue Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford / Kristaps Porzingis. I'm sorry. Go on ahead, draw one up for me right now that's in the NBA. But Payton Pritchard coming off the bench, he does have somewhat of a larger role this year. Something that I noticed against the Pacers, against the Nets. Jrue Holiday seemed to have been struggling with his three ball, going 1 for 9. Payton Pritchard was in the closing lineup against the Brooklyn Nets when they only won by 4 in overtime. Joe Mazzulla is starting to trust Payton Pritchard with a larger role that doesn't have to be a starter. Because really, what's the difference? Your name gets called at the beginning of the game. You're still averaging over 25 minutes a game. Who cares if you're in the first rotation or the second? You're still making an impact. And I do think that he is just as good as he can be because he comes off the bench. There's a level of pressure that gets taken off him because he's a bench player. He's also in that first rotation. So you know when the Celtics are coming out shooting a little bit slow, Tatum can't make his three, Derek White, my God, 0 for 5, Jrue Holiday has missed 2 layups. You know that by that 6-minute mark in the first quarter, guess who's coming in? Payton Pritchard. And that puts me at ease as a Celtics fan. And now the NBA is starting to realize that Pritchard really is the real deal. The latest Sportsbook odds for Payton Pritchard and the 6th Man of the Year award has him at plus 250. The next one doesn't even hit until plus 600, where it's a tie for Buddy Hield with the Golden State Warriors and Benedict Mathurin with the Indiana Pacers. Keep in mind, the Pacers play their bench just as much as their starters. And now you got Naz Reid and Malik Monk at 1,000 and 1,500. Payton Pritchard is among many right now in the Sportsbook odds, but it's 11 games so far. How long can Payton Pritchard keep this up? Can he go 82 putting up these numbers? That's what I'm intrigued to see. And if you guys want Payton Pritchard to win the 6th Man of the Year award, which I know you do, why would you not? Go on ahead and hit that like button for me. Show your love to Payton Pritchard. Show your love to PP. There's one thing I love more than Payton Pritchard coming off the bench, and that is his half-court shots. Hit that like button for me and show some love. All right, let's talk about Giannis and JB, right? Because I don't really like to get into a lot of rumors after games, but this is something that has been trending, and I do want to address it and give my opinion on what happened in the Celtics versus the Bucks game. Before I do that, let me tell you guys about PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. If you guys want to test your skills and win some cash while you're doing it, well, go on ahead, download PrizePicks. I play this every single game day, and there's a good reason why. #1, it's actually the easiest part of my day. It adds a little bit of a thrill. I have to think just a little bit because I like to make my picks a little bit critical, but all you have to do is pick more or less on a player's projected stats. Pick minimum 2 players, maximum 6 players, and you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Not to mention, tomorrow being Tuesday, it'll be Taco Tuesday. They're going to give you guys a discount on a player's projected stats. And then on Friday, it's every Friday, Flex Friday, win or your money back up to $20. So I kept it simple. Just went with 2. I always do a 6 pick on football Sundays, but today I love a good crossover season. So I've got Devon Achane having more than 58.5 rushing yards. And I have James Harden going up against the really tough OKC Thunder. I'm going to have him having less than 14.5 rebounds and assists. These are my picks. Feel free to copy them or go make your own right now at PrizePicks. Download the app. Use promo code CLNS. This is going to get you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app. Use promo code CLNS. You're going to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. The Celtics have been really messing with my feelings recently because they're not dominating. And that's okay, but the Boston Celtics, of course, did dig themselves into a deficit once again, had to dig themselves out of it once again. I mean, we're talking 24 points, 19 points, 17 points. I'm so sick of it. Stop toying and just win these ball games. But then something happened specifically in the Celtics versus Bucks game with Giannis and Jaylen Brown. This was the first game Jaylen Brown has played in 4 games because he has been dealing with a hip flexor injury. He had to get 2 MRIs for it. This is the play that started everything. Giannis drives down low. Keep in mind, Giannis, he's ginormous. He has a pretty hard foul, I'm not going to lie. It definitely didn't look intentional, but he definitely wanted him to move out of his way. It was not a basketball play, in my opinion. He drives down low, chucks that elbow up, and knocks Jaylen Brown down onto the ground. After that happens, Giannis, of course, backpedals. Jaylen Brown tries to get back on offense now, and you see Giannis out here. He's like, all right, man. That's on me. That's on me. Yeah. Then Jaylen Brown goes out there to smack his hand, and then Giannis does this that didn't really sit well with Jaylen Brown. Number one, I get it. I hate when people do this shit to me of like, yeah, pounding. It's like snail. I hate that. And so now Giannis coming up here, and he's like, all right, high five, man, high five, man. Jaylen Brown goes to high five him. You can see his arm right there, and Giannis does the too slow, slicks back his hair, obviously kidding when he did this. Because you can see in the next picture, Giannis is smiling because we've always known Giannis to be a personality. He's been very goofy, but Jaylen Brown's over it. Jaylen Brown walks away. He's like, don't play with that. Don't do that. Don't do that. So there's Jaylen Brown's reaction to Giannis just being a little bit goofy here. And then the game goes on, right? Jaylen Brown, after the game, he gives his comments on what happened between Giannis. And this, I think, was a little bit taken out of hand. Giannis is a child. I'm just focused on helping my team get a win, and that's what we did tonight. And I read that, and I was like, okay, maybe it could have been like a, man, Giannis is a child. It's nothing. But then the comment after that, I'm just focused on winning. I was like, oh, Jaylen Brown might be taking this a little bit too harsh. Because then in the fourth quarter, Brown got called for a technical foul because he went body to body up on Giannis on an offensive play, and it just wasn't a basketball play. And that was 2 quarters after what Giannis did. So I'm like, oh, Jaylen Brown really may not be on the same page with Giannis here. And I'll get it. I get it. It's basketball. People take things. It's aggressive. It can be a physical game. So then Giannis comments on Jaylen Brown's comments, and now we keep spiraling. It's a joke. We're playing basketball. At the same time, you've got to have fun while playing, and I think he's an incredible player. I think we always kind of joke around within the flow of the game. It's something I do to my kids. I play around, give you a high five. Oops, you're too slow. I just did it. I enjoyed it, though. It was fun. So Giannis clearly is not taking this the same way that Jaylen Brown is taking it. And I'm going to be honest, I'm on Giannis' side here just a little bit. I don't think it's anything. But speaking from a stance of Jaylen Brown's point is that he just came back from a 2 MRI injury to make sure he was good to go, and he gets fouled way too hard. Brown probably didn't want to be hit that hard. Brown's probably like, dude, what are you doing? I'm just coming back from an injury. Why are you trying to take me big body to the ground here? And then, he probably wants to go shake it off, and Giannis thinks it's a joke. Brown's not thinking it's a joke because the man's been injured the last 4 games. What if he had actually really gotten hurt on that? And then Giannis went and actually did the too slow handshake. I'd be pissed. So I'm probably thinking Brown's annoyed that he just got hit a little too hard. And then Giannis makes a joke out of it. But you also have to look at Giannis' side of this. Is that the Bucks suck. And they've been trying to break through that. Giannis, you could see in the locker room the other day saying, if you don't want to be here, leave. Giannis is visibly frustrated with his team right now. And maybe Giannis is thinking, you know what? I didn't mean to do it. I just want to have some fun. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm playing basketball. Maybe he was finally getting back into that mindset of look, it's a game. Let's have some fun. Well, you're also 2-8 right now, so I don't know how much fun you're having. So Giannis is probably just thinking, he's frustrated with the Bucks. He's like, you know what, I'll joke around with a guy that's not on my team. And then he pisses him off too. So I don't know. There's a lot going on to that. But overall, I don't think this is anything that should linger any more than yesterday's game. Some comments were said, could be taken out of context, but it's basketball. Chill the F out. But that's just how I think of it. If you guys think I'm out of line here, well, let me know. What's your one-word reaction to JB and Giannis' situation? I'm just going to go overreaction. It's just an overreaction on both ends. That's just me. But if you guys want to go ahead and comment that down below, feel free to do so. If you want to keep talking about it as well, hit that sub button for me.